Well, House Freedom Caucus members writing a letter to President Biden demanding that he stand up against the World Health Organization and its push for a global pandemic treaty, a move that would transfer much of the authority for pandemic control from member nations to the UN agency.
The House Freedom Caucus writing in part, the House Freedom Caucus urges you to halt your efforts to empower the World Health Organization and instead either immediately resume President Trump's withdrawal from the body or, at the very least, push serious reforms to aggressively correct the organization's rampant corruption and ineffectual leadership. Joining us now is House Freedom Caucus Chairman, Republican Congressman of Pennsylvania, Scott Perry. Great to have you here with us. Give us some insight as to why this is such a dangerous issue.
Well, because the sovereignty of the nation is at question, and these are what we're talking about is, of course, being discussed shortly, which is the international health regulations. But it's all a precursor to the pandemic treaty that has been in discussion for some time. And of course, the person that runs the World Health Organization, this Tedros, he should be fired in disgrace for what happened with the pandemic, the recent pandemic over the coronavirus, the Wuhan laboratory, and of course the Chinese Communist Party. And so instead of engaging in amendments where it would give the World Health Organization potentially more sway over the United States and other free nations, but quite honestly, the credibility that they have not earned, what President Biden should be doing is discussing removing the United States once again from the World Health Organization, certainly removing Tedros as the leader, and until it gets its act together, not having the United States participate in what's very dangerous, not only to our sovereignty, but quite honestly to the health and welfare of every citizen, not only in the United States of America, but around the globe.
Yeah, as a reminder for folks, which our memories maybe we're trying to forget, but as we were going through the pandemic, the WHO in many ways became an apologist for China and kind of answered to China more, it seemed, than even the United States. Now, but legally, they could have advisories, but they couldn't make us do anything. Are you suggesting that this kind of paperwork, this kind of treaty would change that and they actually would have some sort of authority over the United States?
So let's be clear. Let's clear this misinformation or misunderstanding up right now. There are two issues at hand. One is the international health regulations, which are being discussed right now. That's what the amendments are about. But what's in the offing is this pandemic treaty, which many people conflate the two. They are two separate things. But one, the regulations are the precursor to the other. We want the Biden administration on notice that, first of all, we should be out of the World Health Organization as long as Tedros is in charge. And maybe even longer than that, depending on the fact that they can't get their act together. But certainly that has to be the minimum standard. If we are going to be involved, we cannot give up our sovereignty. And certainly the president can't make an agreement in the form of a treaty without the advice and consent of the United States Senate. They did, the president at the time, Barack Obama, did the same thing with the Iran nuclear deal. Just sidestepped the American people and our legitimate government, our Constitution, and made a deal with the mullahs in Iran, which they never adhered to. We certainly can't have the same thing happen under this circumstance where Biden would acquiesce our sovereignty to the World Health Organization. And we want to let him know that we're watching and we know what is being discussed.
Yeah, and meantime, questions resurfacing about Vice President Harris and her role at the border. President Biden put her in charge of solving the root causes of the border crisis and working with South American nations. Those concerns come as the administration tries to do away with Title 42 and the southern border remains overrun by illegal immigrants. Where is Vice President Harris and what, if anything, is she doing?
Well, first of all, she's certainly not at the southern border of the United States of America. She might be on the border of Poland and Ukraine or something like that, but she's not working to solve this crisis. And unfortunately, it's not a newsflash. They have no interest in solving this. To them, it's not a crisis. All they're trying to do is this administration is trying to make the United States more efficient at moving people crossing illegally into the interior of the country and have them reside in America. And so actually, she's fulfilling her role, but the optics, they want it to seem like that she's interested in looking for the root causes. Root causes include inviting people to come and not prosecuting people, including criminals and terrorists and people from over 150 countries coming at the tune of about 7,000 to 8,000 a day, maybe soon 18,000 a day when you relieve themselves of Title 42. Those are the root causes. You don't even have to travel to the border. Many of us have. She should, because she should see what she is imposing on the rest of the country. But the root causes are, we're inviting people. This administration is inviting people to cross illegally. And that's exactly what they want to do. That is their goal.
So why do they want people to cross in? Are you suggesting the theory that they eventually want them to become voters for them? If so, how does that play out?
I think that certainly has some validity. It might be that they just see things differently, that they feel that these people are downtrodden and they have some right to come to America. Look, all of us want to help. And all of us are concerned about our neighbors around the world, but we have a process here, and the executive branch is supposed to faithfully execute the laws of the land. You're not faithfully executing the laws of the land when you're patently ignoring them and working against them. We literally have American tax dollars paying for the largest human trafficking event and operation in history. We're enriching the cartels. We're poisoning Americans with fentanyl made in China and being brought through Mexico across the southern border. We're involved in child smuggling and trafficking and all manner of things that the American people simply do not support. They just see it differently than most Americans do. And since they're in charge and no one's going to prosecute them for this, apparently, they feel like they can get away with this.
Congressman, what do you think should be happening at the border as we are in the midst of this crisis?
Well, what should be happening is certainly we should screen every single person that comes to the border, and we should make sure that they're eligible to cross into the country. Remember, if you're claiming asylum, international rules require you to claim asylum in the first country you come to. So if you're coming from some other country into Mexico, Mexico is where you claim asylum, not America. So first of all we have to do is follow the rules we have in place. Second of all, we need to complete the border barriers, that whether it's the wall or whether it's technology, but just to make sure that we have operational control of the border so the cartels don't, so we know who's coming to America and for what purpose. Because again, the criminal element wants to come. They're poisoning our citizens with fentanyl, and that's part of how they make their money. These things are not good for America, and that's why we have a border. That's why we want to have operational control of the border. Begins with operational control of the border, national security, and that can all be done by following the current laws that we have on the books, save things like the Flores decision, what needs to be that needs to be adjudicated by Congress and clarified. But other than that, most of our policies are in place. They're just not being followed by the administration.
Congressman Perry, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you. God bless you.